Okay guys, here's the watch in greater detail, and right away I'm going to go over its 44mm stainless steel case. Now, the case is not only rather large in diameter, but it is also very, very thick, and that's to accommodate both the chronograph and the GMT, and also its 300-meter water resistance. So, if you have a smaller wrist, that is quite thick, I'd say, for you. So, I would for sure check one out in person to make sure that it isn't too big on your wrist. But the watch overall is finished very well. It has Omega's classic flowing polish over the lugs, nice brushed sides on both sides, and then you have beautiful pushers and a polished crown with the Omega logo on it right there. So, now I'm going to move on to the dial. Now, the dial has a lot going on, as you can see, and that's because, again, it has both a chronograph and a GMT. But one other thing that clutters it a little bit more is that since it's a dive watch, they needed the dive bezel, so they couldn't use that for the GMT. So instead, they put the GMT in red lettering going around, which looks very nice, but it clutters the dial a little bit more. So if you like a super minimalist watch, this is obviously not that. But they still kept all nice features. It has a date, your GMT, as I said, and then your chronograph, which is set up in the classic orientation, really. You have 30-minute on the right, you have your hour counter on the bottom, and then your running seconds on the left. So now I'll demonstrate how that works. So use the top pusher, you start it there, very, very nice action, very hard push, which is very reassuring and nice feel. So I'm going to stop it there, and then you reset it with the bottom, and it just flies back. The motion on the bottom is also very nice. There's a nice reassuring click, very, very good for that. Very, very well made chronograph function. So another thing actually is this other crown looking object on the left, and what it actually is a manual helium release valve. So if you're saturation diving, which is where you go down in a diving bell and they have to slowly ease the pressure on you and ease the pressure off you, so that way you don't get the bends, and it has a mixture of gases in the chamber, not just water. So what you need to do is when you're in that chamber, you have to unscrew this, because when you depressurize, because you went down and the pressure increased, some of that will actually get inside the watch because the particles are so fine that the seals can't protect it. And then when you depressurize, it will try to escape, and it will actually push the crystal out of the watch. So what you have to do is you just unscrew that, and then the gas will be allowed to escape. But you have to make sure, though, when you actually dive in the water, that is closed, as that will dramatically reduce the water resistance, and you'll probably just end up getting water in your watch, which obviously is not a good thing for an automatic watch. So speaking of the automatic watch, this is Omega's coaxial movement, which is a different kind of escapement, and it's made to reduce the amount of friction going on, which can in turn increase the longevity of the movement. And being that the movement's fairly new, you can't really test the real long-term life of it, but so far it's been working very well for Omega, and they've really rolled it out in all of their movements. So now I'll demonstrate the diver's bezel. The diver's bezel, this one has a nice kind of slate gray insert, and it is 120 click. Now the clicking on this, I'd say, is basically opposite of like a Submariner, but not bad. It's very clicky. It's not smooth at all, but it locks down very nicely. So it's not the most I'd say comfortable thing to move, but it's very, very clicky and does its job brilliantly. And so what you use that for, if you don't know actually, is you line it up with your minute hand, and then you can see how long you've been underwater, which can give you a sense of how much air you have left in your tank, and that can become really useful if, say, your dive computer, which normally can tell you that information, breaks down or something. It's a very nice backup to have, as it really requires no electronics and therefore won't really break down in any way. So now moving on to the bracelet. The bracelet is also nice stainless steel, and you can see there are a lot of links, which attributes to its comfort, and it's very, very bendable around your wrist. Now you can see some polishing as well in the middle links, which just add some cool elements of finishing and give it a nicer look, in my opinion. The clasp is done very, very well. It's nice bar clasp, no fold, no pressed metal, a very high quality, just feels like it's going to hold up over time. It also has a diver's extension, which all you do for that is you just, one sec, you just pull it out like that, and then you can easily be able to slide it over a wetsuit or a dry suit when you're diving, which is very, very nice, because that way you won't have to add links or really worry about that whatsoever. So now I'm just going to pop it back in, just a nice click in there. So now I'll do a wrist shot. So as I said, this watch is rather large, and that is visible on the wrist. You can see how thick that is. I mean, if you have a small wrist, I would for sure make sure you see this in person before you buy it, as I think this would be a bit overwhelming for you. I have a 7-inch wrist, for example, so above average. I mean, not giant, but it is above average, so just note that. The 44mm is also very, very large as well, but not so as much as, say, the thickness. There are other 44mm watches that I can wear easily comfortably. This is a bit large for my taste, but I know some people like a large watch, so this would be perfect. So this watch is available here at JB Hudson Jewelers for a price of $12,880, and for the amount of complications you're getting and for a nice high quality dive watch, that's actually a pretty fair price. And this watch is brand new, by the way. So thank you for watching this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.